This is Richard. Most of you know me. I'm founder, chief exec of the Managing Partners Forum, and very proud to be starting off the starting gun, if you like, for the 22nd year with the International Management Excellence Awards. What's special about these awards is that they recognize the contribution of leadership and management to the business of professional services firms based worldwide. And how it works is there's submissions are made by the end of next month, and then there's rigorous independent evaluation of initiatives which demonstrate either superior business practices, support to clients, or community engagement. And you'll hear in a minute from Andrew Headley, who is the chair of judges, as to how they go about their evaluation. And as some of you may be aware, the awards are a joint venture of two associations, the Managing Partners Forum and the PM Forum. 22 years on, what's changed? In a way, it's rather sad that we've still got broadly the same theme, which is that the role of management is not still, in my view, given the recognition that it deserves by those who are in the front line of their respective professional firms. So what we therefore look for is to try and encourage them to respect and recognize that contribution, because there's some interesting evidence from particularly the Office for National Statistics that well-managed firms are more productive. Is the need to grow, and productivity is a fundamental element of growth. So in looking at well-managed firms, I think we are very much in the right place. If you look around, it's probably one of the coldest days in the year, and yet we're in Dubai. If you're not familiar with the skyline, with the image, and I'd like to thank Ian Beveridge for having put together such a wonderful backdrop, which we will be using in the awards ceremony, which take place on the 20th of June. And hopefully that will be a little bit warmer than today. And we will be then hopefully hosting you and others and finding some amazing winners. This is now the third year we will have done the awards online. And there are a number of different reasons associated with that. We find that there's less time commitment for people, that the ceremony is far more accessible, particularly for those based outside the UK, and we always get lots of interest from outside the UK. Emissions can come to Thor, lower costs, and I think the main thing from my personal point of view is the ability to actually organise really in-depth questions for the winners. I know some here are here today from firms that have won in the past, and those questions would be very difficult in a busy room, but when you've got 5 minutes talking to somebody with some prepared questions which they haven't seen about how they've won, and they feel all amazing about having won, you get some really interesting, insightful responses, which we then obviously make available to everybody. For those that haven't been through it, the way we approach it is through themes. We have 3 themes. And the first one is about making your business more productive, which we call the business theme. The second is helping your clients be more productive, which is the client theme. And thirdly, enabling your community to flourish, which is the community theme. And what we do is we try and make sure that each theme is deliberately broad enough to allow freedom for you and for anybody who's putting together a submission to select an initiative that actually does cross across some of the internal boundaries that we typically find in most professional firms. What I would say, and I'm sure Andrew will repeat this, is the need to be specific rather than talk about general enhancements. In the guidelines, which are available on the site, and if you haven't downloaded and had a look, please do, you'll find that we've given some what we call indicative categories. In other words, these are the sort of subcategories that we would expect to emerge based on historic patterns. But we're not asking you to apply for a particular category. We're asking you to apply for a particular theme, but each entry can only be, or each initiative can only be for one theme. I'd like to hand over to Andrew Headley, who is your chair of judges, to talk a little bit about the valuable work that they do in order to come up with worthy winners. Over to you, Andrew.
To be here. I'm Andrew Headley. I'm the chair of judges, and just by way of background and a bit of history around my involvement with the awards, I've been a judge since 2005, so not quite the full sort of 22 years, but sort of getting on for 20 anniversary next year. And I've been the chair since 2017. I guess over that period, what I've seen has been the development of the awards and the development of the of the submissions, and the quality has risen year on year. The amount of thought that goes into the submissions, the rigor in the way in which people have approached it, in which both firms have approached it, but also the rigor in which the judging process works, and how the whole thing's evolved over that period. What I want to talk about today, if I can, is the process, the judging process, and how we do that, to give you confidence that this is, something which is done in a measured and consistent and objective way, and also just talk a little bit about the 6 judging criteria that we apply. So really, our objective as a judging panel, and you'll see from the website, there's a panel, quite a large panel of judges, and there's a reason for that, which I'll come to in a second, is that we have a process that's credible, that's rigorous, and that's forensic in nature. And generally, there are 4 judges for each category, hence the size of the panel. There's certainly a minimum of 3 judges per category. That's important for a number of reasons. One is that it gives us a diversity of view and a range of experiences. The judges are all subject matter experts in the category that they're judging, and they understand the world that you live in, the world of the topics that they're judging. And our process is that each judge scores independently based on a consistent template on a platform that's provided by Richard and the MPF. And they do that independently, and then they come together, they meet to discuss, to debate, to give each other a sort of healthy challenge, and ultimately to create a consensus, a strong consensus on the winner, and if appropriate, any highly recommended or highly commended entries as well. Having done that, so we've got a nominated winner for each category, the judging panel as a whole then meets, and each category presents to the wider panel, its judgment, its rationale, covers the entries, discusses, debates, and ultimately the panel ratifies the decisions of the category judges. That gives us confidence, a lot of confidence, that this is an objective process, it's independent, it's forensic, and it gives us the best possible opportunity, to reach the right decisions. There are 6 judging criteria that we apply. That the first is strategic alignment, and those of you who've read Jim Collins, good to great, built to last. One of his famous sayings is that great strategy is 1% vision, 99% alignment. So one of the things we're looking for there is demonstrable strategic alignment with the objectives of the organisation and with its wider strategy. The second criteria is that there's active leadership involvement. We need leadership sponsorship. And again, thinking about why that's important, if you think about sort of any change process, and fundamentally, all of these things will be about bringing about change within your organizations. When we think about the work of someone like John Kotter and his first book, Leading Change, he does say it's called Leading Change for a reason. It's not called Managing Change, it's Leading Change, because that's what leaders do. So we really want to see some active leadership involvement, some leadership sponsorship of the initiative. The third criteria is the extent of innovation. And of course, innovation, it might be service innovation, market innovation, and methodologies, it's systems, it might be tech, but let's not think it has to be tech. By no means must it. Because really, innovation is about doing something differently and doing something better. So let's demonstrate that innovation in terms of the entries. Fourth criteria, education stakeholders. So how do we engage? How do we engage with our stakeholders? How do we build consensus? And how do we give effect to the change that we want to see? Fifth is all around positive impact. So how do we demonstrate how what we're doing has affected the experience of our clients, our people, our stakeholders more generally, the communities in which we exist? So where's the positive impact evidence of the submission? And finally, where's the measurable impact? And I guess it's important here because the evidence is key. So we want to see proof points. We want to see what KPIs was set at the start, how the initiative has performed against those KPIs. There may be leading indicators, lagging indicators, but across all criteria, proof points are key. So how do we show that we've achieved our objectives, and how do we provide evidence on which we base our submissions? In the past, I look back, we've had some fantastic entries. Some of them have been fantastic narratives, which have demonstrated excellent logic and strategies. However, you know, these awards are actually for what we've done. So it's really important that we, as well as walking the walk, we also talk the talk. So please make sure that there are plenty of proof points that demonstrate the success of what you've done. That concludes what I'd like to say. I'm really looking forward to receiving entries from a very wide, diverse range of firms, and looking forward to that whole judging process again in 2024. Richard, over to you.
And now perhaps the more practical aspects of it. I mentioned, I think earlier, that the theme-based approach means that the submission form is actually quite simple in that sense that you don't have to go through and select a category and then adjust your narrative to suit that category. You've actually got something much broader than that: contribution to business, contribution to clients, contribution to community. The form itself, you will find in the hard soft copy, if you like, on the guidelines, which you can download. And then the actual entry is done through an online system. And what our general advice is to actually work with the paper copy, which is a Word document, and work through that and then share it with whoever's going to sign off your entry. Because it's much better to get that absolutely ready and then upload it, and that takes probably a minute, it's not long, when you feel you're happy with that submission. I mentioned that you do need to find somebody who's going to be your support. You also will probably need to find somebody who's going to be a referee or who's going to be able to give an opinion on your submission. And what we find sometimes is that firms who leave that external validation to the end struggle to get somebody at the last minute. So we would encourage you to think about who those referees are and then approach them earlier in the process. The submissions are due in at the end of next month, at the end of February. We then have about a month when Andrew and I look at all the entries and we go through them for what I call an initial sift for quality. Shortlists are then issued. I think the 31st of March is Easter this year, so it'll be probably about in the first week of April, perhaps the 10th, something like that. And then the ceremony, as I mentioned earlier, takes place on the 20th of June. And it'll be in exactly the same location as we are at the moment, but it will be a separate link, and we'll obviously share that with the people who decide to enter. There is a cost involved with each entry, which is £250, and if you like, that's going towards the cost of setting up the awards, because if you don't have a dinner, which is where most awards make most of their contribution, then clearly we have to look through a different route. And there is I think it's 199 or words to that effect, modest cost for each person who joins the ceremony. Book tables can be booked up to 10, I think, or possibly even more. That very much feels like a group of people that you know chatting together. So certainly bring guests who I suspect will be quite impressed at the venue, which is a bit different than your typical Zoom breakout room. Look forward to your entries like Andrew. Bye for now.